ये क्या हाल बना रखा है?
इंजीनियरिंग तो पढ़ ली लेकिन प्रैक्टिकल नहीं सीखे। करता कुछ हूँ होता कुछ और है। भाई इस बार ना मेरा फेल होना पक्का है।
ऐसी पढ़ाई का क्या मतलब जिसमें हो नो प्रैक्टिकल्स? चुपचाप जाओ इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स पे। यहाँ है 3D प्रिंटिंग, रियल एसआई, वेब एंड ऐप डेवलपमेंट, प्रैक्टिकल लर्निंग वाली ट्रेनिंग्स। ट्रेनिंग सेलेक्ट करो और थ्योरी के साथ प्रैक्टिकल भी सीखो। इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स, शुरुआत यहीं से।
Hey everyone, good evening, and welcome to the third session of this IST Crash Course on Digital Marketing. My name is Ashank Rudola, and today the topic of the session is Google Analytics for Beginners. Now, before we begin, let us recap what we have already covered in this crash course. The first session was on digital marketing, what it is, and the basics of digital marketing. And the second session was on the importance of SEO. Just in case, if you haven't watched these two sessions, you can go back, go through the YouTube channel of Internshala Trainings and watch these after the session so that you are up to date and you can continue with the crash course tomorrow onwards. All right. So today is all about Google Analytics for beginners. And then tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we'll be talking about performance marketing and careers in digital marketing in the upcoming sessions. Let's get started. Now, these words would be new for the ones who have started from scratch in this crash course. And like we did in the previous ones, we are going to learn step by step. And we are going to begin from the very definition of analytics. What is analytics? So, to put it simply, it is collecting and understanding data, right? So, if you're uh, basically a shop owner, and if you start collecting data of which particular age group is coming in your shop, that is an example of analytics. Very simple example. Similarly, when you are in class, right, in your college or in your school, and you start to notice how many students are, say, coming from a particular part of the city, right? Or if you're in a big college and you have a mixed section, you can also think about from which part of the country they are coming in. So if you start looking at these kind of data and you start, measuring them and understanding them, that is what analytics is. And we do it uh, unconsciously, right? Naturally in our mind daily, on a daily basis. But simply, again, if we start doing it for a website, right? And we start collecting data of websites, that becomes web analytics, right? Web is short for website and analytics. And that is where Google Analytics comes in the picture. So Google Analytics is a tool that helps with web analytics. So you can either do it by your own, right? And you can do it manually, write it or down on a paper, but that's not possible when you're handling lots of websites, right? You can't actually uh, keep this data in a piece of paper on a piece of paper and look through it. You need a proper tool, and that's what Google Analytics is. And that's why it's very important for a marketer, right? If you don't know which set of people from which particular part of country, maybe even you know which device they are using, are they coming from desktop, from mobile, from which particular smartphone, all of these things, if you don't know about these things, you don't know about your audience. And if you don't know about audience, then you don't know what kind of you know things will attract them, so you won't be able to do marketing. And that is why, to do marketing, you need this data, and that is why Google Analytics is important. Now, what is the process? How does analytics work? So analytics process can be divided into three parts. First is finalize the website that you want to analyze, then create a Google Analytics account, then connect Google Analytics account with the website, and then go through the website data using Google Analytics reports. So this is the process that you need to follow when you're starting with web analytics, right? And since Google Analytics is the tool that we are going to use, we will be practically learning about Google Analytics in today's session, right? So as we have seen in the previous sessions, theory alone is not going to cut it. We need to be practically sound and confident to do certain marketing activities ourselves. Then only we can call ourselves as digital marketers, right? So let's begin. I'll go to Google, and what I'll do is simply type in Google Analytics. This is the link that we have, right? Let's click on it. Let's start from the scratch. So I've switched to an account that I've specifically created for this crash course. Uh, this is a very fresh account. We will move on to the more experienced account later to see actually how Google Analytics works for old websites or websites that are already in place. All right. But now let's learn how to create a Google Analytics account from scratch. We don't need to have anything apart from a Gmail account. So all you need to do is have a Gmail account, and you need to go to Google Analytics website like we did from Google, right? You don't need anything else. You don't need to pay anything, right? And I'm pretty sure every one of you has a Gmail account, right? So let's click on Start Measuring. So this is the process, right? This is the first step of account setup. We need to have an account name. Let's keep things simple. I'll just keep it IST Crash Course. Based on your website or what you're selling, what your business is, you can have a proper account name as uh, per that, right? All of these things, let's keep them as it is. These are recommended settings in terms of data sharing. Let's not spend too much time there. Click on next. Then after account, we have property. Now, the good thing about Google Analytics is that since you're a digital marketer, you may be looking at different properties, right? You may be looking at a particular website, right? Then you may have another person who has given you money to look after their website as well, right? So as a marketer, you may be handling 3 or 4 websites. For example, Internshala has different uh, websites, at least 2 websites. One is for internshala.com, where internships and jobs are offered, and then there's Internshala Trainings website, where trainings are offered, right? So similarly, you can have different examples. So account can be one, but then you can have different properties inside that account, which can be different websites, different apps, etc. All right. So property name, again, let's keep it simple. I'm just adding it IST Crash Course website, something like that. We'll change reporting time to India, obviously. And we'll also change the currency to rupee, Indian rupee. All right. Let's click on next. Advanced options are not relevant for us right now. We're starting from scratch. We're doing it a beginner friendly way, right? So let's click on next. Then we have to provide Google some business information, some basic business information. So industry category, you have lots of options. Let's go forward with jobs and education, right? It seems most relevant to us. Business size, let's just go with small for now. And then you have this option where you can tell Google how do you intend to use Google Analytics, right? So depending on your business, you can choose, any of these or multiple of these. I'll just choose one right now, measure customer engagement with my site or app, right? And I'll click on create. All right. So again here, we will switch to India, right? And we will simply accept terms of service agreement, because it is important to accept uh, before we proceed accessing Google Analytics. All right. Okay, so again, we have saved the communication preferences, not a problem at all. You have the option to take a tour of Google Analytics, but instead of that, I'll be giving you a tour uh, myself. So the first thing that Google asks you is to choose a platform that you want to track. whether it's a website that you want to track, whether it's an Android app or an iOS app, right? For now, we will go forward with the simplest option. We'll go forward with the web option. So here, all you need to do is type a website URL, right? I'll just show you. It's a simple one. So this website should be ready. Like I said in the slide a few minutes ago, that the website that you want to track should be ready. It should be created. You as a marketer should not worry about it. If you have been asked to do Google Analytics for a website, no one will tell you to create the website yourself because it's the job of a website developer, right? A marketer is only responsible for looking at the data on Google Analytics. They're not responsible for creating the website itself, right? So all you need to do is understand, know which website you need to track, put that website URL here, right? Put that website here. Let's say my first website or something. You can name that. Stream name is basically the website that you are going to track. Then enhanced measurement is simply the default option. Let's keep it as it is. This will automatically give you certain metrics like page views, etc. We'll talk about what these metrics are. Metrics are simply things that you can measure. So you can measure the number of people who have viewed your page. You can measure how many scrolls have been done and all clicks and so on. So we'll be talking about that soon. Then you need to click on create stream. All right. Now, the next step and the final step for creating and connecting Google Analytics with the website is adding this tag. So I'm clicking on view tag instructions. Let's have a look. So if your web developer has created using these, website builders, you can basically tell the web developer to install it directly, right? But the most famous option, or I would say the most used option, is to install the tag manually. So as a marketer, what you will do, you will create a Google Analytics account like we did. Simple process. You will create a stream, add the website URL, add the website name, and you will come here, you will copy this, and you will share this with your web developer, right? You don't have to edit the website code yourself. You're not a web developer, you're a marketer. Just share this with them. They will add this tag to all the pages of the website and you're good to go. However, if you are interested in learning how to create a basic website, I have added a link to my previous session, right? It was a session uh, uh, called IST Practicals, and it focused on Google Analytics. And there we have explained how to create a basic website and how to edit some code. But this is a basic crash course. We are keeping it simple and we are keeping it real. You don't have to actually do that. Uh, but still, if you're interested, check the link in the description after you have watched this session, and you will learn the detailed process as well if you're interested. All right. Right now, this is all you need to know. Copy this and share it with your web developer. Now, the point is, how do we actually start looking at the data, right? And that's what we are going to learn. So now I'm going to switch to an account where we have already linked the Google Analytics account with the website, right? So I've switched to a different Gmail ID, right? And here I have already linked this website with this particular Google Analytics account, right? So that process is not very important as a marketer. But once the web developer comes to you and says that, okay, the website is now linked, this is how it will look like for you. And then you as a marketer will start looking at reports. So what will happen once the website developer comes to you and says that the connection is done? The first thing that you will do is you will check whether the connection is done or not. Okay. So before looking at these, block these out. Just look at real time. All right. So I'll exit from full screen, and what I'll do is I'll open the website that we have linked. It's IST Crash Course .blogspot.com. So very basic website, and we are imagining that the web developer has linked it with Google Analytics. So in real time, we should see, since I've opened this tab, we should see one user here. Let's see if it shows us. I'll refresh it. There we go. We have one user, and there it is 1 minute ago from Gurugram, and that's where I am. We are also getting this information that the device used is desktop, right? Now, what I'll do is I'll open my phone and I'll again open this very same website. So I've opened this website here on my phone, as you can see. And now I will refresh and see if the real-time report will reflect it or not. And there you go. 2 users, 50%, that means one from desktop and one for mobile, from mobile. And both of them are from Gurugram, as you can see here. Number one is Gurgaon, right? And 2 users are from Gurgaon or Gurugram. So this is how you can check that, okay, the connection is done. Once this is done, then we will move on and think about other reports. So this is the basic connection of Google Analytics with the website. This is how it's done. This is how it's checked. All right. Now it's time for us to go into the reports, the real deal, right? The reason why Google Analytics is famous and is sought after by everyone, right? The knowledge of Google Analytics is a must in today's digital marketing world. All right. So the reports that we are going to cover are in front of you. There are two types of major categories of reports. One is life cycle and one is user. Let's talk about life cycle first now. Okay, let's go to full screen again and let's have a look at these names: acquisition, engagement, monetization, and retention. Now think how your consumer basically arrives to on your website and how he or she passes through the website. Just imagine. Now imagine you have a smartphone company, right? And the first thing that will happen is a person, you have a smartphone company and you have a website, right, for that smartphone company. Now, the first thing that will happen is that the person will find your website, right? And what we mean is they'll find your website and they'll come to your website. So that process is called as acquisition. You are acquiring a consumer. You're acquiring a consumer. Someone is coming to your website. So that is acquisition. Once they are on your website, they will engage with your website. They will click something, they will buy something, right? They will scroll, they will view certain pages. That is called as engagement. And engagement reports will tell you all about that. After engagement, something will happen in terms of sale, right? Most of the websites will have a sale goal, right? That's how most businesses work. That someone will come to the website, they will view the pages, view the products, and they will buy something. So the amount of money that you're earning from those purchases from consumers is shown in monetization reports, right? So you can see how this is a cycle, right? Step by step, Google Analytics has created reports that mirrors the experience of your consumer. So the way they move through your website, the same way Google Analytics is showing the reports, right? So it's been done really, really smoothly by Google. Okay, so monetization is the third step. This is basically I would say a variable step. Not every website will have monetization. So it's not necessary that you will be earning something from website, right? If you just have a blog where you're just writing something, you're not selling something, then monetization won't be very important for you, right? So, but this is still a very important step for most of the websites that have businesses, right? So after monetization comes retention. So someone came to your website, that's acquisition. They engaged, that's engagement. They bought something, that's monetization for you. And then they left. But retention tells you whether that person who viewed your website or who purchased something, did that person come back to your website or not? That's what retention reports tell you. So this is the whole life cycle, right? As you can see, pretty simple and pretty natural when you imagine how you yourself view a website. Imagine yourself purchasing something on Amazon or Flipkart or anything on the internet, right? This is how it happens. And the same way, Google has created these reports. Now, before we talk about user, we will first get deeper into lifecycle reports, right? So let's now talk about acquisition. You have a basic idea of what it means. We will be talking about the overview reports in all of these lifecycle reports because overview reports will have everything in them alone. Now, there are certain new terms that you will see. Don't worry, we'll be talking about them briefly. I'll be explaining them so that it's clear and you're confident uh, whenever the next time you use Google Analytics yourself, right? So you'll be confident, you'll be clear, and you won't have any doubts. Okay. So the first thing is users, right? Now, users is simply a person, right? Anyone who is accessing your website, right? So, as per the acquisition reports, we have had one user. Now, there should be two actually, but since we have basically a kind of lag that happens in Google Analytics that the reports get updated after every 24 hours. So the view that we have provided Google Analytics just now, just a few minutes ago, I showed you on desktop, on my mobile, that will be reflected tomorrow. That's why it's just showing one user. It's important to understand. All right. Then we have new users. So users will always be the total number of users, new plus old. But new users will be the person that have not arrived on your website, right? Before today or whatever time duration you are looking at, right? The time duration we are looking at is September 12 to October 9. But accordingly, they will Google Analytics will show whether the user is new or not. All right. Well, how does Google Analytics know whether the user is new or not? Do you remember Google and other different websites or browsers asking for accepting cookies? I'm pretty sure you would have experienced, right? Pop-ups that say accept cookies or accept some cookies. Almost every website has those pop-ups. Now you will understand why websites do that. So if you accept those cookies, websites remember you. So they remember whether this person has come to our website before or not. And if they have, when they have come to our website. So they track you. Cookies help in tracking users. And that's how Google Analytics also knows whether users are new or old. All right. Uh, so this was all about this basic graph, right? Then we have users in last 30 minutes. This is basically real-time report, right? It's the same thing. It's also showing us the top countries. So we have two users from India. Now we have more things to talk about, to learn about. The first is new users by first user default channel grouping. Now this means this is a default channel grouping provided by Google Analytics. And they are saying that organic social is the default channel that we have used. Okay, fine. Organic social basically means that someone has used a social media channel to access your website. Now, again, this data is delayed, right? Only real time reports show real time data, present data. All the other reports have a 1 day lag, right? So that's why they are showing the old data. But organic social, you need to remember, this is basically the way, the channel that someone has used. So if I've posted the link of my website on, say, Instagram, on YouTube, this will show as organic social. So it's telling you where these users are coming from, right? Then sessions. So they are telling from where these sessions have begun. Now, what does a session mean? Session means simply you opening a website, browsing it, and then closing it. That is one session. So if you do it two times, if you open a website, you browse it, then you close it, it's one session. If you're doing it two times, you're doing it again, that's two sessions, and so on, right? That's how sessions work, and that's how they are counted, right? So again, organic social, one session began from organic social channel, right? And then you can obviously change this. You can change from user source, right? User source is blogger.com. We know the website has been created on Blogger. So this is the user source, right? User medium. User medium is referral. Referral means that a website link has been added somewhere. So if it has been added on social media, if it has been added on, say, email or something, it's still referral. Someone is referring, right? And so on. We have other options as well, right? Similarly, sessions also, you can change the source. Again, it's showing blogger.com, and you can change other things as well, right? It's showing session source and medium side by side. So blogger.com is the source and the medium is referral, right? If someone is coming directly, then the medium will show direct. Then we have sessions by Google Ads. Now Google Ads, no data available because we haven't done any Google Ads campaign, right, for this website. We will talk about Google Ads, what it means in performance marketing. But to clear your doubt right now, those who don't know what Google Ads is, it's a tool again by Google that helps marketers advertise their website or app or products or videos even on different Google properties. And we will be learning more about it later in the next session. All right. So this was all about acquisition reports. Then we have engagement. All right. We know that engagement reports tell us all about how users are engaging with the website. We have learned how we can know where they are coming from, right? We saw blogger, we saw that the medium was referral, right? And so on. But here we learn what are they exactly doing on our website once they are in the website, right? So the first thing that we can see in front of us is average engagement time. So this tells us how many seconds they are on our website before they leave it. How many seconds are they engaging with our website for? So 8 seconds, that's not too good, but since it's a test website, it's an example website that I've created, that's why it is low, right? But your website ideally should have as high of an engagement time as possible. So you as a marketer should look at this data and you should see that, okay, this is something that needs to be improved, right? Then again, we have engaged sessions per user. So how many sessions each user is creating? More sessions is good. More sessions means that they are coming to your website, closing it, then again they're coming to your website, closing it. It means they're again and again coming to your website. That's a good thing. So engaged sessions per user should be as high as possible. Obviously, you can set a target, but your goal should be to have as many engaged sessions as possible. And engage means that the user is interacting with your website. They're clicking something, they are viewing your pages, they are browsing your website, right? Um, then we have average engagement time per session. So each session, how much time on an average is the user engaging with your website, right? Again, it's 8 seconds because the engaged session per user is 1 and the average engagement time is 8. So dividing that, we get average engagement time per user, right? Or time per session, sorry, right? So these are the basic details here. Then again, we have a chunk of real time here. So it's telling us 2 users in the last 30 minutes and it's also showing top pages and screens. So IST Crash Course, this is the home page basically. Two users have viewed this, right? And the reason you're seeing two users here and one session here is again because of the lag, right? So real-time reports and the data in these lifecycle reports are different. So you don't need to get confused, right? But based on real time, you can see that these are the top pages and screens right now, right? In the last 30 minutes. All right. Then we have views and event count. What does this mean? Views basically mean the number of times your website has been viewed, right? It's been one. That's simple. Event count means the different events that the user has triggered on your website. So 5 events a user has done, and you can see them here, right here itself. Uh, and these are the names. So the user did first visit, that's one event. User did a page view, they viewed a page. They also scrolled, that's scroll. They also started a session, which is called session start, and they also engaged. Now, the best thing about Google Analytics is that these events are automatically created by Google. I did not sit here and name these events. Google is smart enough to know what a user is doing. If they would have clicked something, an event named click will also be here, right? If they would have purchased something, then an event named purchase would also be here. That's the power of Google Analytics. You don't need to spoon feed it anything, right? These events are automatically created, and Google is smart enough to know which events the users are doing. So, as a marketer, how does this help you? As a marketer, you would need to have as many beneficial events, as many good events as possible. For example, you should have as many session starts, right? You should have as many page views, you should have as many scrolls if you have a big website, right? And so on. Then similarly, there can be certain events that you don't want to have, like session end, right? You would have to see that session end should be there, but it should not be that high that people are automatically leaving your website before even browsing, right? Before even scrolling. So you need to remember these things. And as a marketer, you need to have a look at these events, right? Then we have this in front of us. How many views by page title and screen class? Screen class. So class is basically which kind of screen it is, and page title means the the title of the page, right? So test has 1 views. It's telling us the number of views, right? And screen class, it does not have a specific screen class because screen class is only relevant for complex website. If you have a basic website, then it will have a basic home screen only, right? So you don't need to get to you don't need to get too deep into that, right? Pretty clear. Then you have users activity over time. So user activity over time tells us that where exactly in form of a graph are your users interacting with your website, right? So here you can see that in one day, the last one day, one user has interacted, right? As we know, it's lagging, so it's not showing two. In the last 30 days, also one, and in the last 7 days, also one. So this helps in understanding how many users are interacting with your website in a span of a month, in a span of a week, and in span of a day. So it helps you keep track that whether a good number of users are interacting, are engaging with your website over a certain period of time. So you need to remember all these things, and you need to remember how this data is important for you, because just learning about it is not enough. You need to also understand how it helps you as a marketer. All right. So this was all about engagement. Engagement overview covers other things as well. So again, now we'll move on to the monetization overview reports, which is the next uh, part of lifecycle reports. Now, as I said, monetization deals with money, how much you're earning, and more details about your earnings, right? So here you can see that you can get total revenue uh, data here, right? It's zero because we have a basic website. We don't have any way to monetize. So it's zero. Then total revenue, as you can say, is a revenue from purchases, subscriptions, and advertising, right? So purchase basically means directly people who are purchasing products. Subscription can mean different things for different websites. For Netflix, it's subscribing to their website or app and certain plans. Similarly, Amazon has subscription. Flipkart also has some kind of subscription. So the amount that they would be earning, they can track here, right? And advertising. In case your website shows ads, you also earn something from those ads, right? Uh, you would have seen many websites showing ads, right? Newspaper websites show ads, for example. So for all those ads that are present on their website, they earn something in return, right? So all the sum of those, revenue is shown here. But if you just need to have e-commerce revenue, right, just purchase events, that can also be shown here separately. And the total ad revenue is also shown here separately. Then you also get this very important data of total purchases and first time purchasers, right? Total purchasers means during this particular duration, these many purchasers have bought something. And similar to first time users, first user, you can also get to know the first time purchasers. This tells you that, okay, in this span of time, these many people have uh, purchased something, right? And then you can basically compare it month on month, that okay, are my purchases increasing, are they decreasing, what do I need to do, what new marketing activities can push them to purchase more, right? So these are certain things that you can do. Then further, you can get to know average purchase revenue per user, how much one user is spending and how much you're earning from that user. Very handy, right? This tells you that how much you are spending on one user and how much they are giving you in return, right? When a company uh, creates a product, they have these things in mind. So they also need to understand how much revenue they're getting from one user in return, right? This is a very important metric to have, right? Uh, and then e-commerce purchases by item name. So since we don't have any data, we are not selling anything, we don't have it yet, but you can have different items here, right? And you can have the number of purchases that will tell you that okay, this item is selling the most, this item is not selling well, and then accordingly you can do marketing activities. So very interesting, right? You can get so much data, so much knowledge using Google Analytics, and all you need to do is just connect it. Google will do all the things by itself, right? You need to connect it. The website should be properly created, but most of the heavy lifting, most of the hard work will be done by Google. All you need to do is look at the data and think from your mind as a marketer what can be done to improve this number, right? Any particular number. So that was monetization. Then we have retention, right? And retention is simple. After someone has come to your website, acquisition, engagement, monetized, purchase something, monetization. After this happens, they leave your website. But a successful website is the one that will have users coming back to it, that will have high number of returning users, right? So right now we can see that we have zero returning users, we have one new user, but we have zero returning user. So that's not a good thing. But obviously, again, it's a simple website. We don't have too much data for it, but your goal as a marketer is to have as many returning users as possible, right? And user retention by cohort and user engagement by cohort and user retention basically tells you that how many users from a particular date are coming back to you, right? That is user retention. User engagement tells you how many are engaging with your website again. And user retention tells you that, say, for 6 days, for 13, 20, this is a 7-day interval, how many percent of users you're retaining for each 7 day interval, right? So retention report is all about understanding how well your website is recallable in your user's mind. Do they remember your website once they leave it? Are they coming back? That tells you uh, whether your website is successful or not in the long run. So that's why retention reports are also important. You need to keep an eye on these numbers. So that you can understand whether your website is calling these customers back or not. So that was all about life cycle reports. We learned how users come to your website, right? Using organic social media, using direct search, so on. How do they engage? Which pages are they spending more time on, right? Then we learned about monetization. And finally, we learned about retention. The next category of reports that we are going to learn is user reports. Now, user reports tell you about users in a more personal manner. Right now, users were like numbers, right, in front of you. One new user, two new user, these many returning user, these many page views, right? These many scrolls, they're coming from this channel. So they were treated as numbers. But when it comes to user reports, you learn more about them, right? Not in terms of numbers, but in terms of their basic characteristics. So let's have a look at these reports and let's start with demographics. Okay, so it's loading. All right. So we can see that right now we have had one user from India, right? Let's close this for now. Yeah. So we have one user from India. Obviously, in real time, we have had two new users in the last 30 minutes, but this is not being reflected yet. So once this number grows and you get to see more people from different countries, you will get to understand that, okay, this particular country has most of my users and I need to focus on this country. Or on the other hand, you can also have a look at, say, and observe that, this country is not performing that well. I'll have to focus more here, right? Many users are not coming from this country, but maybe I should start marketing this particular uh, uh, country, right? And spend more time on this country. That is what you can learn. Then you can also learn about users by city. Again, very important. Gurgaon is the only city the user has come from right now, but this again will increase. And again, you can see that, okay, this city needs my attention. This city is doing well. The city is not doing well, and all those things. You can also get gender. Right now, we don't have any data available, but once you, create your website, you ask them to sign up, right? And you would have seen most of the websites ask whether, you're a male, female, transgender, other genders, etc. Right? So there you can even target specific genders as well. You can see who's your target audience. You can even see their interests, right? No data available right now, but you can even see their interests based on their browsing history. That's why Google collects the information, right? That's why you can see that Google asks you when you're creating a Gmail account or something that, we'll be tracking your interests, we will be tracking how you browse, right? And that is where Google uses this. Okay. Uh, then age, then language. Again, pretty straightforward. Google can get this data once it starts properly tracking your users, right? So this is all about demographics. You can get to know, your users on a minute detail. Then we have tech, right? And tech reports basically tell you about the tech details about your users, right? Which platform they are using, web, right? Which operating system they are using, Windows, which browser they are using, uh, platform and device category, so web and desktop, right? One user has come. Similarly, device category, by screen resolution, right? And even app version. So we are not tracking app, That's why this will be blank, right? But when you have app, you can even look at users by device model. You can even look, the status of each version of your app, right? Every app has different versions, and then you can have the stability overview as well. So lots of things to understand here, lots of things to keep track of here. But more importantly, you can see that, okay, this browser is used the most by my users, this device is used the most by my users, this operating system is used by my users, and accordingly, you can basically mold your website, right? You can make changes to your website so that your target audience is comfortable, has no problems browsing your website. So these were all the different reports. And as a budding digital marketer, as someone who has already learned a lot about digital marketing, I'm pretty sure this will give you confidence, right? You have now learned how to create a Google Analytics account. You now know about all these reports. So now you have the confidence to go ahead and have basic understanding of Google Analytics in a practical manner. All right. So let's go back to our slide, right? And we'll be talking about some burning questions when it comes to Google Analytics. So the first question that I've observed a lot of students ask is Google Analytics important for all kinds of marketers, right? Is it only important for, say, SEO specialists or just social media folks or just content folks? That's not the case. Google Analytics is so important that even the head of the company will be interested to know what data, right, is coming on Google Analytics. They'll be interested to know how are users finding their website. So the whole business revolves around Google Analytics. And that's why, as a marketer, whether you are a SEO guy or a social media folk, right, it doesn't really matter. That data will be very important for you because according to that data, you will make changes to your website, you will make changes to your marketing strategy, right? And so on. It's important for everyone. So even if you have something in your mind that I would be a social media manager or something, it's very, very important to have a basic understanding of Google Analytics that you have today. You can now answer what the common metrics are. You can now answer and you know that, this report tells us about this thing, right? That is something that I wanted to provide to you today, right? That's one thing. Then how does Google Analytics get data? So I have covered it briefly during the session. Cookies is one way, right? That's how they track whether this user is coming back to your website or not. Then they also look at browser settings. So if you're for a website, to open any website, you need a browser. Most of the Android folks use Chrome. On Apple, on iOS devices, we have Safari. And similarly, there are lots of other browsers, Mozilla Firefox, and so on, right? So Google uh, looks at the browser settings, for example, language. So when they say that these many users use English, they are English uh, speakers, they will check the browser setting and they will see that, okay, if the browser setting is in English, that means this user speaks English. Now that user might speak any other language, but they assume that this user speaks English. Similarly, when it comes to age, gender, I've explained it briefly. They look at the account details. So if you have opened say an Amazon account, they will look at that data, the gender, the age, and all those things. And that's how they also get the interests using different activities. Google tracks you, right, wherever you go. So when you're browsing something on your phone, when you're watching a particular video, when you're browsing different websites, Google tracks you. And that's why you would have observed that you might be searching something or thinking of something, uh, what you have searched earlier, and you get an ad related to it. That's because Google is listening and Google is observing you. That's how they get the data. All right. So these were the two burning questions. I'm pretty sure many of you would have. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to comment them and we'll get back to you. All right. That was it for today's session. Thank you again for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot. And if you need to revise anything, go ahead and revise the session. Right. Now, join me for the next session tomorrow, where we will be talking about performance marketing. Right. It's a very sought after, I would say, skill. Many people are looking for performance marketers. So I'm pretty sure many of you would be interested in knowing what performance marketing means as well. So join me tomorrow. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you're reminded of tomorrow's session. And I'll see you tomorrow. And, let's continue learning. Thank you.
क्या हुआ बे? अबे रॉकेट काहे बने हुए हो?
ग्रेजुएशन के लिए सिर्फ 4 महीने बचे और समझ नहीं आ रहा आगे क्या करूं। शुरू कहां से करूं?
अबे इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग से मैं बताता हूँ। यहाँ है मशीन लर्निंग, जावा, HR, टैली जैसे बहुत सारे करियर बिल्डिंग ट्रेनिंग सेलेक्ट कर और अपना करियर शुरू कर। इंटर्नशाला ट्रेनिंग्स, शुरुआत यहीं से।